Okay. Make sure that's there. Don't need that at all. Okay. Don't mind me, just making sure I got everything. Cleaning a little bit. Hi, everybody. Okay. So, I am just here making sure that I have everything that I need. Don't want to do that. We're going to go here. Will do. All right. So I have been wanting to. Give me just a minute. I'm gonna rearrange a few things here. Bring this forward a little bit because my drawing pad is just a little too far away from where I am, and that's the wrong angle. Are we okay? Almost. Make that up a little higher. Okay. I actually wanted to go live much earlier in the day than now. Unfortunately, I had some other things that I had to take care of, things that I call chores. Trash had to be taken out. I wouldn't feel comfortable just, sitting here drawing when I could be taking out the trash or washing the dishes, little things like that. So I decided I was going to do those first, and then I got distracted with some other things, like sitting here watching other people do things, and completely just forgot that I wanted to actually go live today. It has been a little bit since the last stream. I think it was, 2 weeks now since my last stream. And I'm trying to balance, my need for wanting to do live streams, as well as I am now in school, so I'm working on my bachelor's degree. And also, like I said, the other thing that just kept me away from doing this earlier was just chores, other things I had to get done. I had homework that I had to finish today. Well, not finish, but, get some level of completion on that. So there was just a lot of things going on that were really taking the desire out of me to want to do anything today. But I really, really want to just get to this point. So we'll do that at the end of the day. I am okay with doing that. So here we are. So we now have, you are really looking up at me. Let's do that instead. Okay, that's much better, I think. Yeah. Okay. Yay. Awesome. All right. So, I had painted something, I don't even know. I think I recorded it with the intention of loading it up onto the YouTube channel. I didn't even finish editing it. So that did not happen. But I will, actually, give me just a moment. I will just pull it up so you can see what I did. If you're following me on Facebook, you've probably already seen this, or even on my Instagram, I shared a little clip of it. But this guy here. So this is Teos, painted, and I think it looks amazing. I think he looks amazing. So this is what I did, the last recording that I did. It wasn't streamed or anything. It was just me really playing around with the cameras and just wanting to do something. So this is what I actually want to do on stream today. Not this particular piece. I'm going to do something else entirely. But I do want to get a piece completed on stream. So that's the full sketch. That is the inking, and then there is the painting on top of that. So it's really meant to help me get back into my work habits and my expectations for my work for completing a piece. I just really want to do something right now. So nothing is stressful except for, stress. No, really nothing is stressful. I miss drawing and painting so much, and that was the whole point of really deciding to relaunch Illustrator of Fantasies. I don't want to live a life that doesn't include me really engaging with a pencil and paper and, painting and drawing. That's always been my childhood growing up. That's always been my life, and I want to continue doing that. So, and that I get to do this right now, and I get to, record and share this with other people. Hey, that's totally fantastic. So, let's just begin. I've talked enough. Alright, so what do I want to draw today? That is the question. I actually did have an idea what I wanted to do. So I think I wanted to do another Teos piece. Let's just some stuff here. Okay, that's better. And of course, the sketch is just kind of coming together on its own. Ooh, I think this is Ancient Chaos. So, this is him. And I say that because this character is very, very old. Like, in general, you know, he's not just one of my older characters, definitely not the oldest, but he's definitely one of my older characters. And in the story that I'm working on with him, which, you know, that's something else that I also need to be working on, that I've probably been avoiding a little bit, but we won't get into that. He is much older than everyone else around him. It's just a quality of his divine nature. He doesn't age the way other people do. That's right. That's another thing that I also wanted to do. I'm just thinking out loud because one thing that I actually did want to draw, there is another one of my older pieces, and I'm probably going to turn this into a thing, like I always do. I want to revisit some of my older pieces and, you know, kind of redo them and recast them as, you know, with the current look that my style has developed. Need my eraser. So do that. So clean up that neck area. Okay. Because, you know, a lot of my older work was mostly centered around. Wow, you can't see a thing I just did. Okay, let's do. There we go. Yeah, there's a whole lot going on in this page here. I just noticed what was going on here. And okay. Normally, when I'm drawing, I'm doing so at night, and it's much more difficult. This room that I'm in, is very dark. Not very dark, but I can't really capture the lighting very well, so I have to be very specific and very strategic about placement of lights and the camera angles and things. I've never really had to deal with, oh my god, there's too much light in here. So that was brand new. Anyway, yes, you probably saw the pencil just doing things, but this is what was actually on the page as of right now. Alright, so now Anyway, I want to recast a lot of my older characters because they were originally done in, just regular paints and oils, and just general pencils, and not really. I didn't really get into inking until maybe just a couple of years ago, and so wanted to just kind of revisit them and see what they would look like if I had gotten into that level of completion. I saw this kind of forming over here. And let me just do that. Excuse me. That's what I was waiting for. Where is my... There it is. I'm looking for my mechanical pencil. Okay. Because I want to get in here and draw some details. So, kind of, going over my work and doing my revisit here. We can start with Teos. Get to go back to an old design that I had for him. Yeah, that looks like fishnet stocking. That's not what I was going for, but sure. It's actually meant to look more like padded pants, like sewn, quilted padded pants. Which we can play around with a little bit. Let's just do something like that. you can actually see all that all the detail that I'm putting into this outfit right now. Now, the interesting thing is I can put as much detail into, this pencil sketch that I want, and when I go to do my inking, that detail is just not gonna hold. Like the detailing will change. Some things will pop out a little more than others. Some things will just get kind of lost. And that's only because I'm an amateur inker. So I will definitely cop to that. Like, even that looks awful. Like, I look at this sketch and I'm at a no with that one. But, I guess we all have to have our burnt pancake, as I call it. I think this is a no. I don't know. At least it's a no right now. It's a not at this moment. There's something really off about this one. And I think the neck is a little longer than it needs to be. We also have to realize that the angle that I'm at right now. I think the outfit needs a lot of work. Yeah, I think this is going to be a no. So what we're going to do instead, give me a minute, let me grab some different paper. We're going to, first of all, let's look at what I did here. We'll call that one a warm-up, shall we? Let's look at what I did here and say, okay, what did I do differently? Well, I just let myself draw. I just kind of did things. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to just draw. We're going to let ourselves draw. We're going to enjoy the experience. Like, I still want to get a piece to a level of completion today during the stream. you know, kind of. So we're gonna freeform it here. Sometimes when I draw, I like lean into doing things like the so-called wrong way because it works for me. I mean, the wrong way is how I learned how to draw in the first place, so. The wrong way taught me more about anatomical proportions than the right way. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. I don't really, I mean, this is my style. This is how I do things, so. And it works with everything that I'm trying to do. Just a moment. Okay. I do lean forward in my work a lot, so that's occasionally why you may see my hair all up in the shot, or why I'm so close to you. Hi, did you get my text? No, you didn't.
Oh, what?
I'm streaming. Boyfriends are amazing. Sorry. That leg. You remember what I said about anatomy? Yeah, that leg is too short. Let's really pull that out. Oh, that's perfect. just a few technical issues real quick until I can... There we go. So now we can go ahead in with our mechanical pencil, as I will go in with my mechanical pencil, and you can do whatever you want with yours. And we'll hardline some of these details in here, like the outfits. Remember, we've got this little thing going on over here. We've got his little moon on it. Yes, he's a sexy little vixen. With barely any clothes on, but, you know, that's how it goes. In order to be a sexy vixen, you have to have no clothes on, apparently. That's just to us. Do you believe in the idea that not in order for anything, that artists put themselves into their own works? I think it should be fairly obvious, if you've been here with for my past streams, you do already know that Teos is, based on myself. We all have that moment where we want to kind of artistically create ourselves and our work, and so Teos is me doing exactly that. The only difference is I am not as free-minded about nudity as Teos is. And obviously I don't have nearly as much hair as he does. But, he's got my personality. He has my eyes. Let's actually give him something to sit on here. Yeah, this is it. This is how I want to draw. is exactly how I wanted this to look. Good God, what's happening with that nose? That's better. And gets to have his sage horn. So, the sage horn. What is up with that? When I first created the sages as like call them a race of people, but classification of being, really. I wanted to go with something really outrageous as like a physical feature for them. And, you know, it turned into giving them horns. And not like multiple horns, but they get like this one single unicorn thing going on, so... And it just kind of... And I stuck with it because I thought, you know what, that is super cool. And it is super cool. Now, technically, the serpent here is supposed to have wings, but I didn't give myself enough space to draw them, so they're going to look kind of awkward. They don't really need to be there. Teos is supposed to have wings too, but it's clearly not there, so either I started too high up on the page, or that's just where it is. Give me a minute. Okay. Now, if we look back at the drawing, we see that the shoes that Teos is wearing are, you know, not really existent, so we can kind of draw something in there. So let's go ahead and put these on him. I'm pretty sure there is a technical name for this type of footwear that he has on. I don't know what that is at the moment. I just thought this was a cool design. Something neat to give him. I will look up what that name is at a later date. there's that. My whole thing with Teos is that I believe him to be a beautiful man, and not just because, oh, he's kind of feminine, so that's clearly where this is going. No, more just, I want him to, be at all times just, well, I don't know, maybe that is I think for him, as a mark of his more obvious feminine nature, is that he takes on obviously more feminine poses. And that's the interesting thing about character design, is that your characters will have to, the way you draw them will be fairly indicative of who they are and the types of personalities they have. So yes, as Teos being a more feminine male, that his poses tend to be more related to that. How he wears his hair, what he wears in general, the clothing that he wears. More androgynous and just, very soft and very pretty looking. Let's do this to give him more going on up here. There we go. So now there's more to his outfit than, just no top entirely. Which is so funny, because with his look, I tend to kind of, vacillate a little bit between like doing this and then doing that. I vary it up as well. Sometimes, when I draw him, he is usually, there's no little boot things like this, or the gloves. Is usually just him in his gown, and that's just how I've always illustrated him. Okay, I think that is perfect. I think we are now ready for the next step. That was new. Okay. Random phone call trying to come through. Not about that life right now. Don't even know who it was. Whatever. Okay, so I've got my acrylic ink right here. I will let you see what I'm using. I shake it up because I don't know. I guess I just get in the habit of shaking liquid things. Sometimes things settle, and so gotta get them back into the proper usable state. Tends to keep things from being settled too long, so I'm gonna shake it up. Alright, so now You're going to do some inking. Alright, so you're going to see just, exactly how I do this. Which, I don't think that my inking is terrible. It's just, I know that there's obviously better ways to do it, but this is how I'm doing it. Alright, so I've got my brushes right here to my left. And we're going to go ahead and select one of them so that I can actually do this. Let us go... we're going to start with a thin brush here, just to get a basic outline of the scene. Ooh, really dipped into that. Here we go. Need that all over. You know what I did wrong here is not wetting the brush first. There we go. Okay. What I've noticed, this actually comes from experience, is that when I wet my brush first before I dip it into the ink, it tends to really get saturated with ink a little more than if I had just dipped the brush in. So that's, not getting these weird streaks when I go to paint with it. Okay, so at this point we can really start with anything. Let's go ahead and start with our dragon, and I'm holding the brush like this, not for any style or technique purposes, but just because I don't want to smear my pencils. It's not that it gives me more control. Because I don't want my hand to become covered in graphite, which would smear things. It also kind of keeps me in the habit of ensuring that I'm not touching the paper with my hand, so I can avoid potentially smearing the ink as well. I don't know what I was... Oh, you know what? I know what I'm doing here. Yeah, you see that right there? That... Avoiding that is exactly why I dip the brush in water first. We were just talking about how I didn't give myself enough space to draw wings, and look at that, it just emerged. These aren't the wings that I wanted for the serpent here, but you know what? They'll work for me. So now it is time to re-dip, and once the brush itself becomes fully saturated with ink, we're in a safe place. I'm going to take this line, curve it all the way around, again, just to ensure that the brush itself is completely saturated. And what's great about the way that I draw and paint, and the way that I do, is that I like to see what type of things develop as they go. I'm not as bothered anymore by accidents and mistakes in my painting and drawing as I was, years ago when I was younger, and it was much more important for me to be completely perfect about everything. For everything to be exactly what I needed it to be, and the lines had to be exact, and we couldn't have any variation, and not even just variation, but I didn't allow myself to have, as Bob Ross calls them, happy accidents. And it's a thing that gets around a lot. It's not just about painting. It's about really any real creative endeavor. Sometimes you're doing something and you're so focused on it being 100% like this has to look exactly how I envision it. And in that 100% exactly how you envision it, there's really no room for the types of mistakes or accidents that will really teach you more about yourself and how you deal with crises, or that are probably going to be much better for the piece itself if you just kind of let them develop organically. So that is where we are. Look at that. And all it took for us to get to this point was just to have a warm-up. Okay, so now we are going to look at Teos, and I want to... Now there is a difference between a happy accident and that burnt pancake I just had a little while ago. It's not so much that it wasn't perfect, it's just that it wasn't really taking shape into something that I felt comfortable endorsing in its current form. There were just things happening with it that needed a little more development than what I wanted to put into it at this time. And I'm comfortable with not doing anything with that at the moment. I feel that there were just a couple of little problems that just kind of arose that I wasn't immediately prepared to deal with, and I'm still not. I'm still, as I work on my pieces, there will always come up those issues that I'm way too close to the camera. Wow. Okay. There will always be those issues that I will discover as I'm working. That I just am in no real way able to handle them or to deal with them, and I'm at a loss as for what I should do to address them. So in those situations, I feel it best to put it aside and simply come back to it later. Now, what could happen is maybe I just needed a different pair of eyes on it, as in not have someone else look at it, but have myself look at it in a different way, to really see what's working, what's not. And then, address that in that way. And then once I do look at it in that other way, I can say to myself, oh, okay, so this is what was going on. Yeah, that's fine. So, faces in ink, always tricky. But that went perfectly. So, sometimes when I'm inking a face in a painting, I will avoid the features, or I'll reach for a actual fine point pen, to draw those features in. It's only been lately that I've felt truly brave enough to actually do this with a brush. And honestly, that bravery really just starts with just saying, just go for it. Just do the damn thing. Because the worst that happens is, well, you just have to redo the piece. But you learn what you can do. Obviously, this is probably a point where we can say, well, maybe, Sel, you should just practice doing these things before you do them. You're right, I should, but I don't. So we're just going to put that there. No, it's fine. I should practice, but I like just going for it. I like just saying, you know what? Just do the damn thing. And hey, sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. For instance, how I discovered the real joy of inking with a brush. That was me just saying, just go for it. It took a little cajoling from another artist I know who agreed with the idea of just do the damn thing. And you know what? I've been doing the damn thing ever since. I said, since I'm here, using a brush. And most of that, you know, feeling of just do it was really from the realization that I wanted to paint. These scenes. I use, way too close to the camera again, I use watercolor inks, which you will see me use in a minute when I actually do go to paint this. And it's always me just sitting here wanting to paint all of my characters and my scenes and everything that I do. So I said, you know what? Since I'm already about to pick up a brush to paint the color, why don't I give myself a head start and use a brush to put down my inks as well. I don't often concern myself with how other artists do their things. That's none of my business, none of my problem. I'm not really interested in... I mean, I'm interested in learning from other artists how they do things, but if it's not... I want to say if it's not confirming, but, you know, if it's not teaching me some new technique or something new and interesting that I could do with my own work, I'm not really as interested. You know, I love watching other artists work, but that's only because I love seeing what they're creating. But I don't look to other artists to say, oh, well, maybe I should start doing what they're doing. No, that's not why I get up in the morning. I don't know about you. It's not it for me. I ain't got that to do. So, for me, it's more important to just enjoy the ideas that I come up with and see if they actually work for me. To see if I have the presence of mind and the balance and the skill and to experiment and see if those things, you know, actually work for me. You know what I do want to do? I'm going to draw some clouds. this brush. Perfect. All right. So now what I'm doing is just kind of going back over everything and making sure that got all my details in and feel, I wonder. There's one more detail that I'm thinking about adding to this piece that I'm honestly thinking that it will survive if I don't add it. But would it look cool if I drew a giant crescent right behind his head? Let's go for it. I love it. Awesome. Okay, so now that that is in a good place, let's go ahead and finish with these details before I wipe the ink off this brush. What I want to do is I want to clean up these pencil lines. Then we want to clean up the pencil lines and let the ink really dry before we go to the next step. I've had so many accidents with black ink and my finished pieces before that I would rather avoid that. So we always close the ink when we're done. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back to clean this up and then move on to the next steps. See you then. Okay. All right, so yeah, that's much better. So I actually brought some light into this scene. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to nix the camera here. I'm obviously getting too close to it, and I'd rather you focus on this instead of like my head all up in the shot. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to go to that. Yay! Okay, so you should still be able to hear me, you just can't see me, and that's okay. We will all get by just fine without being able to see my giant fro all up in the scene. Okay, so the next step that we want to do, and this one is actually really, really risky, but it usually works out for me. I've gotten it down to a really good point where I know exactly almost how long it takes for ink to dry. Usually if I just step away for a couple of moments, is really all the time it needs. I'm usually also just kind of very daringly rubbing my hand all over it, and as long as my hand comes up clean, we're good. There's no smears or anything. That means we can go ahead and start cleaning up these pencil lines. So for that, just, just lightly. And we'll go in and just make sure that we have no pencil line showing. So we absolutely don't want that, because when we go to add our colors, we'll end up with pencil lines showing through that too. And it doesn't look as good as, some people may have once thought once upon a time. I was one of those people. I thought, oh, this looks cool. You can see all my line art and everything and my original pencils. Yeah, that's actually not really the look. That's a no. Anytime, and I really recommend this to anybody, whenever you're working in illustration, and even if it's just for yourself, clean up your pencils. Like, please clean up your pencil lines. If you do any kind of inking at all, it's like your pencil lines don't have to be like everything as boldly as possible to say this is where the ink should go, but please don't let your pencil line show. It's not a good look. It's not the look. It's not the it look. You don't want that at all. You think it looks good for a little bit, and I can tell you right now, I have published work that has the pencil lines showing, and it definitely does not look good. Those pencil lines do not translate well to reproduction. Maybe you can keep that for your own work, but honestly, anything that's going to be publicly shared or sold, don't show your pencil lines. Those aren't good. Clean up your pencil lines if you're going to ink. And even if you're not going to ink, if you're going to leave them as pencil lines, you want to really make sure that the lines that you do have are as strong as possible. That they're not just kind of there to, hint at some potential directions or shapes that you could have gone into with your work, but that those pencil lines actually are your inking lines, and they are as strong as possible, as bold as possible, so that, you're not losing the original image integrity, so nothing gets lost. Alright, so let's take a look at this piece now that it has been cleaned up. Honestly, it looks real good. So, what we're going to do, I'm going to get my tray here, my pan, so that I can start laying down some color. I'm going to shift a lot of these things over to the side a little bit. Another thing I recommend, don't ever leave your brushes in water. If you are using brushes for any step of your drawing process, never leave them sitting in water. I have done that, and what ends up happening is your brushes, they will expand and it'll take on so much water. You will basically just ruin your brush. This is my personal experience, and I am sharing with you. Don't ruin your brushes. Okay. So, do I have this ready? It is now. I'm going to continue shifting things over a little bit. That's what I needed. Oh, here we go. I'm trying to make space for, and I'm still looking at the camera, trying to make space for my paint pan. Oops, that's my mug about to hit the floor. Let's move the notebook out of here. I almost knocked my mug off the table because I had a notebook sitting up here. Okay. So, making sure everything is good, that you guys can hear me. I didn't accidentally mute the microphone again. Nope, I didn't. Okay. I know, I spend a lot of time making sure that you're okay. But, you know, I want to make sure that you're able to hear me at least. So, what I want to do is I want to go in with some blue. Where's my blue? Here it is. This is what I am using. I use Blick liquid watercolor and a variety of colors that I have here. This is something that I've been experimenting with. I started using regular plain old drawing inks a few years ago, back when IOF really started, and I decided my first few pieces were done with ink. Not this dense black ink that I'm using, but I would like to actually paint with, you know, these dense inks at some point. But I was using inks, and I said, wow, this is really fun. It reminds me of working with watercolor. And I said, oh, I wonder if, you know, watercolor has any just like liquid inks. And I came upon a few, and I've experimented a little bit with them too. And yes, I have used actual watercolors before. Thank you very much. Don't need the sass. Don't need the sass. But I have done that, and I just decided, you know what, I want to play around with these watercolor inks. I like using regular watercolor paints that come in tubes. I like those, only because of the density of the color. It's always really nice. Okay, yeah, that's good. I use acrylic ink because it doesn't wash away with water when it's dry on the page. I am super lucky to know that this does not happen. I'm also doing this wrong. I know better. I used to actually keep a 1-inch, 2-inch, and 3-inch just painter's brush nearby when I'm working, so that I can do really deep washes, like really significant washes on my pieces. I always start off with just a basic wash, and I keep forgetting to grab my brushes before I start painting. So I'm using this broad tip wash brush, but this is not the brush that I want to be doing this with, only because it's so small. Like, it doesn't really cover enough area is the problem. So I can do that with it, and that's fine. Like, once the piece is all wet, reasons why I do a wash is to, really cover the piece in as much color as fast as possible. And I always start with whatever color as just kind of an outline. Ooh, what is going on here with these spots in here? That's not good. Oh well. The funny thing is, if you do your inking and you get your piece to a really good state, you can always just scan the thing. Oops, started to actually pick up some of the ink. I guess that was just a little too saturated. That's all right. You can always just scan the piece itself so that you can, play around with your inking a little later. That's actually not quite so bad. So we'll stick with this. We'll stick with what we've got here. Alright, and next I will actually go in to here and just pull out the blue. And by that I mean just like this, in this exact motion. And what's great about doing a wash is that you can cover, the entire piece in a single or, a mix of colors if that's what you want to do. And, it's kind of like almost like an instant background, but it's also kind of an instant base layer that you can build other colors on top. The wash helps to really set the mood for the piece itself and what you'll be trying to do with it. I'm going to switch hands here. So even things that are going to be, colors that are not based on that blue, you've kind of set the mood with the piece, and you're able to really build on those color layers so that, your yellows, have the right balance and contrast, and it's one of the reasons why I like doing washes. Quiet because I'm concentrating, y'all. Quiet because I'm concentrating. And I don't need to go into every little, space and fill up every bit of negative space with the color. Like, not the entire background is what I mean to say. But I can just black out the areas that I know I'm going to be going, that I need to go into. There. And that is the wash and my basic bluing. I need to go clean my water, so I'll be right back. It's still got some of the dark in it from the ink, but I'll be right back. So now the fun really comes into play when you can decide what color your things will be. Let's do all of the obvious stuff first. So let's look at, I'm reaching for my yellow here. That's why you see my hand going up. That's where I have my color. So here is the Blick Liquid Watercolor in yellow. Probably can't see that it says yellow on the side, but you'll just have to trust me. And I am shaking it because that is what I do. As mentioned before, I always shake up my paints and things so that they're not just settling. I like the little clouds being that basic wash color. I'm going to keep them that way. What I want to do is just get some yellow down on here. And we're going to take a round brush. And we're going to paint in all the things that are supposed to be yellow. So that is the little moon right there. There's some hair on here. Let's get that out of here. Cat hair, naturally. The paper is buckling, but that's because it's completely saturated with water. The moon behind him. So you can see that with the yellow, the blue as a background, it kind of tones down the yellow a little bit, which is what we want. Basically turns its volume down ever so slightly. So it'll still be very bright, and it'll stand out pretty well, but that wash of blue basically becomes the new white. I'll show you what I'm going to do with that background too. Eyes, yellow. then we have just his clothing detail, like the trim here. And over here. And I'll sneak that in right in there too. But also down here. Okay. Oh, you know what? All right. It's supposed to be there, and I'll sneak some of that in here too. Okay. So, you know what? Yes. Paint the dragon's eye yellow as well. Okay. So next we want to his clothing. So what he's wearing should actually be a that's black. It's not what I need. Where's my red? Is this my red? Yes, this is my red. And I need my purple. That's green. So that means you are purple. No, you're brown. Where's my purple? There you are. Or violet. So I've got my two colors here. I've got violet here and my red here. So this is the sound of me shaking. That was the visual of me shaking. I'm only grabbing some red just to, you know, give it a warmer tone to this violet. And so what I want to do is I'm going to take a flat brush here, this guy. And I want to use that to really get into the normally when I'm adding water to my paints, and I need the water, so I usually use an eyedropper, but I don't have my eyedropper handy at the moment, so okay, so that looks good, but it also looks very red. I think that's because I added more red than I needed to. Alright, so there we go. I like using the inks because, you know, they're really good coverage, especially these giant bottles of it. Okay, that's grapey enough. Gonna go in and pray that it... Okay, yeah, looks good. I get really good coverage with... Yeah. And I don't have to put so much out of the tube down into my pan. And I just like using them. Just like using them. I'm using a flat brush because I want the extra coverage for these big spaces, but also the control. You know, it's so funny because when I sat down to do this stream, I wanted to do, you know, like several pieces. I was feeling really inspired this morning, and I wanted to do like a bunch of paintings just like this. And it turned into, I have all this other stuff that I have to do today. You know, maybe one day I'll be able to sit and just draw and paint for hours on end, on camera even. That day is not today. That's okay. Do it a little bit at a time. Being an artist is like a dream come true for me. And, you know, there's obviously other things that I would like to do. Like, you know, I will mention that I am also taking piano lessons. Yay! Thank you, YouTube, for providing people who are piano teachers and decide that they want to teach other people how to play the piano, because that is how I am learning it. You know, it's really cool. But, you know, I'll get there eventually. I did actually have that life a few years ago, back when I started IOF. I was painting every day. I was productive and creative, and that was my living. You know, I was able to make a decent living out of it for what it was worth. I was doing art shows, and that's where I was making a lot of contacts and meeting people, and that was where really a lot of my money was coming from, to really do what I was doing. You know, I'll be absolutely realistic with you. I had a regular job. You know, obviously the art job was not, you know, it wasn't, you know, completely self-sustaining. So I had to have a regular career, a regular job. Not career, this is my career. But it was great, and I would really like to get back to that. I enjoyed it a lot, and I want that back in my life. Okay. Alright, so what do we think so far? I'm enjoying this piece right now. So now that his base color is in for his clothing, I want to do his skin. And I was thinking about how I was going to do that. So what I'm going to do is, what I need is, I don't want to do this. I need a drop of brown. Maybe 2. Maybe 3. There we go. 3 drops of brown. Awesome. And a couple of drops of my violet here. That's my 2 drops of violet. Need a few drops of red. and some water. Give it just enough water to really allow those colors to blend and kind of tone down what's going on there. Give me a bit of scrap paper here. Oh, yes, this is perfect. Okay, I've got me some scrap paper down here, so now what I want to do is I want to use a round brush and just kind of draw in the, ooh, yes, I like that. Okay, so that looks good. That's what I'm thinking. Alright. So now we're gonna paint in his skin. I'm really excited for this part. Of course my hair is in the shot. Why wouldn't it be? Now I'm using this brown mixture just to get his base color down. It's my idea though that his skin is actually much darker than this, much closer to black than this. This is one of those design choices that I end up making a lot of times on, you know, just as I'm working on a piece. Since all my characters have this dark skin tone, but then, you know, I really want to show that there's some color to it. So I always start with, oh hey, there's a little area where I could have put some of that purple mix. Warm his tones up with this brown. In oil paints, when I'm using oils, what I'll usually do is I'll just paint down his entire skin as black, and then I will use this brown mix to lighten it up. To add some nice warm tones in there. Looks good. Looks very good. Alright, so now I will actually need this black. And into the same pan as our brown mix, we'll have the black. Making sure I reach for the black and not the green, because that would have been a no. That would have been a disaster had I just dropped that on here. This watercolor black is kind of dense. Make sure I'm getting the right tone that I want before I drop it down there. Oh, that's not getting anything. Okay, there we go. That's what I want. In case you're wondering, I am I'm just making a few strokes onto some scrap paper so that I can test out what these colors actually look like. Okay, there we go. That's perfect. You know what? I should have just added more purple, because that would have done much the same thing. I don't think it's too late to add more purple. Never too late to add more purple. I don't often like using black to darken make things darker. I usually, if it's a mix, I'll usually almost always go for the darker value of that mix in order to find a shade tone that I like. Again, I'm in the shot. Oops. Very big blob of my skin tone mix here. You're seeing my hair so much because of the way I have the camera angled in order to really see what's going on. I have it set up in such a way that you can see the entire page, but it's angled kind of awkwardly, so I end up even just accidentally getting into the shot. I don't have an arm that my camera is mounted on. It is sitting on a tripod that is set up at a really awkward angle. That means anytime, you know, its anchor is moved or a certain little cat bumps into it, nudges it even just a little bit, it will tip over really easily. So that's much better. Oh, yes, I love it. Now, obviously I added black to this, but I think in the future I would just add purple. Since I use purple as like my really dark value color in this skin mix, when I want to make it again in the future, I will likely just add purple. That looks amazing. Oh yeah, I love it. Now you're seeing it kind of washed out because I have the light shining on it directly. But it looks fantastic. I wonder how a serpent would look with yellow wings, and I'm going to give him yellow wings because why not? Why not? Serpent is mostly white anyway, like in general, and so I'd rather have something. Okay, that's perfect. It's not done yet. Still some extra color values that I want to add into it, some other things that I want to do. Just some tones to deepen in the shadows, and we can use our round brush for that. I think I should use a bigger round brush for that. Oh, this is probably the, this is really the only one that's gonna work. I think these are, yeah, they're the same size, so, well, I could actually just use my flat. So, to add our I'm looking at my purple. There was a new dot in it. I'm like, what is that? So let's get in here. As always, quiet because of concentration. do to get in that area. Let's use a smaller flat. So I'm going to get all up into here. I'm trying to make sure I don't get up in the shot again, so... Oh, hey, I forgot about the little seat he's on. I'll have to do something with that, too. I'll get that in a minute. Some white, like some actual stark white, because I need to do his hair. But you know, okay, you know what? I know exactly what he can be doing. I wonder though. No, I don't want that. Actually. Maybe. I'm thinking to myself and responding out loud, so pardon me while I do that. Seat can be this purple as well. But we'll add a little red. Because I think it should be red. And honestly, there's really no reason why I need to get as close to the thing as I do. I just like being able to see all of my little details, because what ends up happening is I will notice something as I get close in the detail work that I probably wouldn't have noticed had I not been as close as I am. That's okay. Next, let's go ahead and get in on his skin tone and really deepening in those shadows there. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna figure out something else to do with this camera here. Because all you're seeing is my hair all up in the shot. funny thing is, that was an issue I had in one of my first streams, that my hair was just there, and it was so in the way that I went the entire video without realizing that I had obscured everything that I was trying to show. So if you could see me now, I'm really leaning off to the side. Do this instead. We're going to tilt this up. The problem is the light is in my eye. So we're just going to do this. So that's in a good spot. And it's been 2 hours since we started this. Making decent time. Oops. Here we go. I'm thinking of what else we can really do to this piece to help bring it out. And I need my white. So rather than hold you guys any longer, we are going to call this done for now. I really do like how this looks. Do something real quick. I always take a picture of my pieces when I get to a really decent spot. So I do want to snag a shot of this. I think it looks really good where it is right now, but there's definitely a lot more that I want to do with it. But I want to give myself, some time and the opportunity to actually do that. So what I'm going to do right now is plug my Instagram. You are going to follow me at Celestian Bright on Instagram, and you'll be able to see this guy show up there. And obviously I'll also post the finished shot rather, onto the IOF Illustrator of Fantasies Facebook page. You'll definitely see that there. I will go in and do more details. There's a good chance that I might, record that or, show that off and maybe throw that up onto the YouTube page as well. So there's lots of places where you can come and see the actual finished work before it's actually done. I need my white. I can't finish this piece without my white to help bring in some highlights and really get some of the tones the way I need them. And I don't know where that is right now. I usually use a white acrylic paint or a gesso even, just to go and just add some, just to pluck in some details. But this piece, as I said, is at a good spot. It's done for now, and I will come back and, hopefully, in a week or maybe even a couple days, who knows, I'll have this completely finished. And that is the plan. But for now, I want to thank you for joining me, if you stopped in, and I want to wish you all a very good evening. Thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight as we, we didn't complete it, but we got to a good stopping point with this piece. So thank you for being a part of this. If you stopped in to say hi or you just dropped by, maybe you're just lurking, it's fine. It's totally okay. It's totally acceptable. I appreciate it just the same. So hang out with me again. Hopefully I should be able to come back next time. It has been challenging trying to stick to a streaming schedule, only because, as I mentioned earlier, I am now in school working on my degree. So I want to make sure that I have enough time to do all the other things that I do, and then also make time for this. So it's probably going to be easier for me to do a Friday evening stream as opposed to a Thursday evening stream. I wanted to do it on Thursday because that was usually a time that I knew for a fact that I could, but now that that time has been taken up by other things, it's all just a balancing act of making sure that I make time for all the things that I need to make time for. And unfortunately, this had to just kind of sit aside for a little bit. But I will definitely come back next week to start a new piece. Thank you again for joining me. Have a good night.